Eternia is not easily conquered. I've been set back too many times in my efforts to overrun it. Tell me about this army of yours. Wonderful! Soon I will imprison King Randor and his royal family.
Welcome back to the Tidarium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about my Eternia display setup. Now, not much talk about Eternia because there's not much going on with Eternia, but I'm getting ready to display it. I know it's over a year till it comes out, but also today I also want to talk a little bit about Camo Khan, or the Cobra Khan, but they call him Camo Khan. Anyhow, we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to give you my thoughts on that figure. It's going to be Friday when that goes up to order for $30. But I'm going to go into kind of each one of these little sections here, what I got going on, what I view the future of Eternia, and how I'm going to set that all up. Maybe I'll give you some ideas along the way to talk about this and more coming up. So next I want to talk to you about Camo Khan or Camo Khan or Cobra Khan. So the thing about this figure is that it's going to be Mattel Creations exclusive, and this upcoming Friday, I think it's the 2nd, at 11 a.m. for Central Time, I believe, and it's 9 a.m. I guess Eastern. Pacific is whatever. I don't really know all the time zones, but I think I got to be there at 11. So check your time zones. It's got a countdown timer. It's pretty easy. Just go check it out. It is $30. Now it does come with 3 weapon accessories, an extra set of hands, an extra head, and I gotta tell you, it's not worth $30. But I mean, they're gonna command it because they have extra packaging or something. I mean, deluxe figures are like 22, 23, depending on where you get them. And so this is not even a deluxe. It's not even up to the deluxe scale. Now, I know a lot of people paid like crazy extra money for the Sunman that didn't really have anything extra with it. But I mean, the paint apps are a little bit different. They did paint some of the accessories and all that kind of stuff. But I'm gonna get it. But it's $30. It's overpriced. It's gonna sell out in 2 minutes. And I'm gonna tell you this right now. It's gonna sell in 2 minutes. So if you want it, be there Friday. Check your time zone, whatever. Make sure they're on time. So I'm going to go into kind of some shaky cam here. I do have a fright zone over there, and I think I'm going to move it. And then I've got a bunch of figures I've been working on getting together. I do have Slime Pit over here. And so I've added some elements, some vintage elements. Now, this stuff was really cheap. Most of this vintage stuff that I have is really cheap. And I've done some combination of vintage, and I've done a combination of some origins into this. And so I actually initially thought I was going to actually display classics and Masterverse with it, but I will do a little bit of both. And when I do the review, when it comes in a year or something, I will actually do kind of show what it looks like with some classics, and then go into the origins and vintage combination. So I want to show that I did get this pretty cheap. I don't know what cheap is in comparison, but this is a connector piece that connects the green tower to the blue tower. And I don't see it in any of the pictures or the promo pictures, any of that kind of stuff. So I'm led to believe that it's not going to be included. But this is one of a handful of pieces that I picked up for Eternia. Also, I picked up a Ninjor, and I've got the Ninjor's bow for Eternia, which is cheaper than Ninjor's bow, which is crazy. The Eternia version is cheaper. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to have. I don't know, by the time it shows up, I'll probably have a dozen items from the vintage one, just randomly, whatever I find for cheap that I think would be kind of cool, that I can use in my display to compare to the modern one. I definitely won't have an entire one, but I will have, my goal is to have about a dozen pieces, so there's that. Next, I want to show kind of the difference between an Origins and a vintage figure, which all of us know that, but I do want to kind of go into when you're setting up for a display like this and you're mixing and matching, there's a difference that you just really need to think about. If you're doing what I'm doing right now and getting ready for this, the difference you need to think about is the fact that the Origins figures are brighter. And I gotta say, I like the way it looks. Now, some of this is fading over time. This is sun damage and stuff like that. So some of this could be attributed to that. And then the standing. Now, I have gotten every one of my figures to stand in this display, either on its own or leaned up against something. So I haven't replaced a single leg band, and I don't ever plan to. I'll probably just pull an Origins out if that's the problem. One little trick to make these things stand is that if your rubber band isn't broken, but it's kind of getting loose, you could put some of the clear fingernail polish. Let me show you some clear nail polish or floor polish or whatever you want to use. I think I got this at Walmart for like, this was like $2 or $3 at Walmart. I've gotten some for cheaper than that at other places. But you just put it all in there and then you put him in the pose you want him and just kind of leave it for a bit, and it gives it more friction. That's one thing I did to about 5 figures that kind of worked. Now, with the Origins though, you do have a lot of extra articulation, and you can actually pose them in ways that you can't actually pose the vintage ones. And so with that, that makes Origins much more desirable to pose with your Eternia. But there are some vintage purists out there that are just going to put their vintage collection with the new Origins one. So I understand all of that. That all makes sense. But I just kind of want to point out, you have so much more articulation. Instead of, you can call this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points of articulation. But you're building a display, so it really doesn't matter that your figure can do this, right? That doesn't matter at all in building a display. So the next point I want to discuss when it comes to talking about setting up your display and getting figures ready and all that kind of stuff is, let's say you don't want to spend 70, 80, I don't know how much a Triclops is right now, but you can go get a vintage one for like 15 bucks. I paid $5 for mine, and then I think I got the sword for like $2 or $3. I was just missing the sword or something, or maybe I already had the sword. I don't remember, but I remember that it was like $5 for this guy, and I see him for 15 complete all the time. But then I mean, you got to factor in shipping and that, you know, worry about all that. But this Buzz Off, I haven't seen a cheap complete Buzz Off. I see people like asking 15 bucks just for his helmet piece. So getting Buzz Off for $10.50. So there's a lot of decisions you kind of have to make, mix and match, integrate, and those kinds of things, and that would work just fine. So I got another Buzz Off for really cheap, and I'm probably gonna crack them open if I don't see a vintage one. But you know, Origins do look better, pose better, they are better, but in a lot of cases these days, vintage is still cheaper. I know for a fact they're going to have integration for the Wind Raider, and so you're going to be able to integrate your Wind Raider in there. Now I don't know if you just literally just plug like the smaller piece, or if it's the silver piece, or we'll figure that out when it comes. But I have a Wind Raider that I already did open and I reviewed, and you can get these at Ollie's for 20 bucks. I mean, some people said they found them at their Walmarts for $7, but those are all gone. Like the $7 ones, that's a pipe dream now. So maybe somebody that's got one used, it'll sell it for 10, 15, 7, I don't know, who knows. But looking to try to get this as cheap as possible if you can. I paid full price for it and reviewed it, and I knew it would go on sale, but I never caught the sales other than now the 20 at Ollie's. But I think it's a really amazing vehicle. And here's the other thing I do want to point out, because a lot of people maybe don't know this, but almost every vehicle that they've made for the Origins will fit the Masterverse and the Classics figures. So if you want to display your Eternia with Masterverse figures or Classics figures, then these vehicles go right along with it and it'll fit. So still talking about vehicles, my space is a little limited for vehicle integration, but I do have this one here and the Battle Ram and Attack Track. Now they made this part, this skiff air piece. I'm losing the names right now, but anyhow, so the thing is that I ended up picking this vintage one up for like 10 bucks, and it's so cheap. Like I could have gotten 3 of them that day for 10 bucks each. It was no big deal. But yet Origins hasn't made this, and I haven't seen where they're going to make it. And then Attack Track, I believe if they do make an Attack Track, it's not going to have a motor in it. So that's the way I see it, and of course mine works. And I got this for 10 bucks. So with that, I mean, I've been kind of putting together some stuff to try to build up my display and make it a lot more fun. So just start looking for those deals, because I got to tell you, vintage Masters Universe is super duper plentiful, so you can get good deals. Okay, so now I'm going to get into semi-shaky cam mode here real quick. Now, I do want to point out that I did get one of these Fright Zones. I paid 15 bucks. Well, the guy sold me like 3 playsets for like 40 or 50 bucks or something like that. So I allocated 15 towards this, because pretty cool. So anyway, no, I think I got this and a Snake Mountain for 30 or something like that. But the tree's almost 100% there. It's missing like one little piece. And then down below, it was missing the monster. It's not a trash monster, it's just a monster. And so the puppet monster is the hardest part to get in this. So people say that they want this thing remade. Now I'm sitting there thinking, you can get them all day long on eBay for like 100 bucks. And if they remake it, it's going to cost more than 100 bucks. But the one problem is getting the trash monster, or call them a trash monster, like the the Death Star or the Dagobah. Anyway, this thing here is always ripped and always messed up. So I went ahead and stuffed it full of paper towels and just kind of filled it out a little bit, taped up a few things on the inside to make it a little bit better, and got a cheap one. And so now it works. This playset's lame as heck. And I think I'm going to have to move it over here, because I think I'm going to put the Snake Mountain over here, and then if you can see over here, I already have Castle Grayskull. Castle Grayskull is set up to coordinate with the Green Tower, which is going to go somewhere around here, and everything's going to populate around it. So there's like kind of a corner, an angle. You can kind of see the angle of the wall right there. There's an angle, which I'll probably have to stick that. But none of this stuff, really, you'll know. You won't know any of this, exactly how it's positioned, how it's going to work, until you get your Eternia in. So anyway, I think I'm trying to incorporate as much into this display as I possibly can. Next up, I want to kind of show the slime pit. Slime pit looks kind of cool overall. It's pretty slick, but it's also kind of lame without slime in it. So I did get this complete for like 50, and I don't know why I spent 50 on it, because I know I could have found it cheaper. But I just was like, well, it's got all the parts. Doesn't have but what, 5 parts to go with it. So I also have Cyclone here, which kind of works like this. Now this is another figure I picked up for $5, and then just in lots I got his shields. I didn't have a shield with him. I ended up with 2 shields, and I think it's a better idea to counterbalance them with 2 shields. Also, I'm kind of curious why they didn't make him in Origins yet, or if they're going to make him, and if they do, will he have his feature? Probably not. Who knows? Next, I want to do a quick comparison of the Origins He-Man versus the Vintage, which oddly enough, my Vintage one stood better. That's crazy. The Origins should stand better if you get him in a good pose. Okay, I think he's figured out his pose. So I got to realizing that I didn't have a Vintage He-Man at all anywhere in my collection, and so I went ahead and picked one up for $10. Then I realized getting his accessories was hard, and I had some like in a box somewhere, but I didn't have his chest piece, so that was kind of a challenge. So long story short, getting a complete He-Man's harder today than I thought it would be. I thought you could put one together for like 20 or 30 bucks. It's not that easy. It really isn't. So people still charging 70 for a complete one. You might be able to piece your own together for maybe 40 or 50. So I mean, 70 is really not that far off, but at the end of the day, I do see the difference in them. The Vintage one still looks way better than the first one that they made, but even the second one with the updated head sculpt, I mean, they just never truly 100% captured that original head sculpt. And that head sculpt is so classic, and so with that, I gotta have this guy in my display somewhere. All right, so Webstor is a figure that I didn't even know that they made, and so with that, they made them in the Origins line. I picked up a couple, actually I have a few of these in the Origins line, but I got a Vintage one for real cheap, because it seems like the Origins one's now getting hard to get, and I don't want to open up mine. I like the packaging, and this is what he does. Well, so this works. Well, this one works really well. I repaired a backpack, and I think that it's going to be kind of fun to have this guy in your display somehow, and have him like on his way halfway up some sort of a crazy climb up one of the towers. It just seems to make sense to me. But I was thinking, well, it would also be cool to get a few extra backpacks and do it on a few other people. Here's a backpack I got pretty cheap from somebody, and it didn't work. And so I watched Toy Ploy's video, and I got it to work again. So, I mean, pretty cool that Toy Ploy can show all this stuff. And I would have never figured it out on my own. I mean, maybe I would have, but no, I wouldn't have. No, I definitely wouldn't have. I needed him to walk me through it. Last thing I want to talk about, Meckaneck and Road Ripper. So I have a Vintage one, another Vintage vehicle I got for $10 complete, and then I got the figure for $5, and then I paid $5. I already had this, and I paid $5 for his chest piece, but I have a back piece on him, and I'm trying to work out getting him into a Webstor backpack. But the one weird thing is that you lose this feature of the neck going up, the action feature in the Origins version. And I'm kind of split on that. I'm kind of split on that one because of the fact that you can have his neck up and him standing forward. So that's one good thing. But I would have liked that you could just pull his head up and then push it back down, but not have the legs move. So, I mean, that wouldn't have been too hard to integrate, but at the end of the day, then the problem, lies that they'll try to put every feature in, which they don't want to, or they change each feature depending on what they think. I think it's okay that they did clip-on piece for a clip-on neck, but I still would have liked it integrated to go all the way in his chest, like they should do with every R2-D2. All the little accessories should go inside the R2-D2, not clip-ons. All right, so we're going to do one more quick pan scan around what I got going on here, and it's going to change. It's going to change before Eternia shows up. I didn't really talk much about the backgrounds because I've shown that in the past, but The backgrounds, I'm sort of happy with them. I double-side taped them on there, and they are starting to fall off. But I did 11 by 17s to make it much cheaper, and I think all this cost me like 20 bucks in prints. It would have cost 50 for this side and 50 for that side. It would have been $100 in prints had I just gone with a full-size poster. So 11 by 17 is the much cheaper option. It's like $2 per print or something along those lines. So it's much easier and cheaper to print like that. So also I did print these. So I think it's coming out pretty good. It's looking pretty good. And so with that, I'm getting ready for the Eternia. I'm still excited. I'm stoked. And I plan on getting my hands on a few more parts and pieces. So I'll be making more updates to this. There's more stuff coming in I'm going to add to this display and more ideas that I'm coming up with. And it's a mix of vintage origins and some other stuff going on that's coming in that I can show about this. But don't forget Friday to get your Camo Khan. If you got your 30 bucks plus your tax plus your $7 shipping, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, let me know what you think about this setup. Have I given you any good ideas? Are you going to get Camo Khan? Like, subscribe. Titanium Hanger out.
So, He-Man, it's just you and me.
It's not too late to call this off, Skeletor. Even though Skeletor is my enemy, I couldn't allow him to perish. I believe in the sanctity of all life. Even Skeletors? Even Skeletors.